Hi, I'm Alicia Rye. Welcome back to Quarantine Cuisine. Food for, I don't know anymore. Anyway, today we are going to talk about lentils. You know, one time I said to my mom, well, I used to be a big Walking Dead fan. Not so much anymore. It freaks me out now, but you know, a while ago, I loved The Walking Dead, and I said to my mom, like, it's, you know, the only thing I hate is that there's no, like, South Asians on this show. How is that possible? And my mother, who is very, like, unexpectedly funny sometimes, goes, oh, they're probably all holed up in their house eating lentils. I was like, oh, that might be true. Because honestly, I have enough of these, and I don't really even cook that much, that I could probably last a few apocalypses with just this. A cup of these can feed so many people. These are, we call them Toor Dal, but they're like yellow. I don't know if you can see that. And you can get them at your local Asian grocery store and help support somebody in your community. These are so nutritious. They are filling, they're healthy, they're just so good for you. And honestly, like, I've had this in my pantry, I think, for like well over a year now. They last forever. And so perfect quarantine food. So we're gonna make these even more delicious than they are sort of right out the gate. We're gonna use a cup of these, and then again, very few ingredients, right? Onion, tomato, curry leaves. I actually don't even know where you get these, because I got these from my mom's garden. She brings like a big package of them, and then everything smells like curry leaves, all her clothes and everything, every time she comes. So I assume you can get these in stores, but they're just little leaves. They have a nice smell to them. You can leave them out if you don't need them. These are cumin seeds and mustard seeds, and that's it. Oh, the favorite, a little green pepper. You don't have to put this in if you don't like it spicy. I think it gives a little bit of taste. I don't think it necessarily makes it spicy unless you put a lot of them in. We're just gonna use like 2 or 3. So let's get this party started. Okay, so the first part of this is very easy. You're gonna do a cup of the little lentil guys, and we're gonna put them in a pot, and we're gonna put about 4 cups of water in there. And you're gonna probably have to keep adding water as you go. And then you're just gonna cook it on low for as long as it takes. No set time. You just want it to be like this consistency where it's almost mush. See that? Like, you can mush it. And it doesn't taste like much yet. Once it is like almost mush, I think I cooked this for like 3 or 4 hours. It's a very long time. You put the little, you know, put the lid on it, let it like breathe a little bit. But just let it go. As long as you keep putting water, make sure it doesn't burn, you can walk away. Come back to it and check it. That's something I sometimes forget, but you have to come back to it, check it, maybe like every now and again. Make sure there's enough water in there so it's not burning the bottom. And then some people have one of those fancy like things, and I don't have one of those, so we're gonna improvise. That's what this whole thing is about, improvising. What I do have is a NutriBullet, so we're just gonna blend this in there. And I'm gonna reserve a little bit because I like a little bit of texture in mine. Yeah, we're gonna put it in there. We're gonna blend it. Whoa. Add some water if it, you know, isn't blending well, obviously. Not too much water though. Oh, look at that. Nice and hot. That's done. Now we leave it. We don't have to touch it for a minute. What you could do is leave it like that, put in some salt, a little bit of sugar, and a little bit of turmeric. Blend it again. Put it back in the pot because you have to cook anytime you put turmeric in, you have to like cook it out again. Warm it up and then salt it, you know, to taste, and you can use it just like that for rice or whatever you want to use it for. We're going to do something a little bit extra with it. So I'm heating up my pan, and we're going to add oil to the pan. And I actually hate using vegetable oil. It's so ugly. But I do think this doesn't taste quite right with olive or any of the other fancy oils. You want like enough to coat it, enough to be able to saute some onions and everything. We're just gonna let that heat for a minute or so. Want to make sure that it's nice and hot. And you'll be able to tell when it's hot. I'll show you. It's very exciting. We're not there yet. So this front burner is not, oh no. We'll fix it, don't worry. This front burner is not great. So I moved it to the back burner. Now it's working. And you can tell it's working because when you put the little mustard seeds in, they should like pop a little. So that's what you want. You want the oil that hot. So we're gonna put in like a 1/4 teaspoon. Oh, look at that. Plop, 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 plop. Plop, 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 plop. That's the noise they're making. So you want that. And while they're doing that, you're gonna do a 1/4 teaspoon of the cumin seeds. Plop, 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 plop. It doesn't work unless you do the sound effects. That's the only works. And then like maybe 5 or 6 of the little curry leaves. They don't make any noise, unfortunately. And then we're gonna do some of the peppers too. Put it down a little bit. Got a little hot. So when I said my stove wasn't great, I wasn't kidding. It's not great. Cooks everything a little too quick. But that's okay. Now we're gonna do like half an onion. We're gonna saute it. So you just want to saute these onions until, you know, like they're a little bit clear. I'm just continuing the sound effects as we go now. Knock it down a little bit lower than medium. I have like a very weird stove where either it's too hot or it's not hot enough. So I'm always having to like fidget with it just to get it to the right temperature so I don't either burn it or not cook it for 8 hours. And I know, I mean, if there's any like Indians watching this who cook this all the time, I know I'm taking some shortcuts. I am maybe not doing things exactly like you do them or like they're supposed to be done. But we are in the middle of a crisis right now, my friends. And so we will bring this up at the next annual meeting. I promise you, for now, we're just gonna improvise a little bit. I really like to use red onions. My mom is a big fan of yellow onions, but I'm pretty sure it's because it's cheaper, not for any actual reason. I just like the taste of red onions. I think they make everything taste better. I actually want to get those little goggles that you wear, you know, when you cut onions and then you don't cry. I always cry when I cut onions. And especially now because we're not supposed to touch things on our face. So it's very hard. I'll be like crying and trying to rub it off with like my shoulder. Very awkward. It's all very awkward. Okay, so now we're gonna you could do like 1 tomato, but I had 2 tomatoes to get rid of, so we're using 2 tomatoes for this. It's okay, tomatoes are good. I'm just gonna leave like a little bit reserved because I don't want it all to get mushy. We're just gonna stir it around until like the tomatoes are like, you know, kind of like mushy. You can use, again, nobody kill me. You can use canned tomatoes or tomato sauce. I have used tomato sauce before. But if you have fresh tomatoes, try to use those. I think it does taste better. Okay, the tomatoes are pretty mushy now. So we are just gonna add in the stuff that we pureed before. I'm probably gonna have to add a little bit of water too. But we're gonna do it in an interesting way. Hang on. Scrape it out. And we'll add the stuff that I reserved too. I know, it's not much to look at. You're like, what is this gonna turn into? Trust me, okay? Just trust me. Okay, there's that. And we just want a little bit of water now. This is the great thing about a NutriBullet, right? Shake, shake, shake. Get all that leftover stuff out. Get it all in there. And so what we're gonna do is we're just gonna let this simmer a little bit. We'll add the rest of the tomatoes. And we're just gonna add a little bit. Be careful when you use turmeric, because too much is very quickly too much. So start with a small amount. I did like 1/8 of a teaspoon. And then see where you're at. You can always add more, you can't take it out. And there are a million ways to make this. This is like one of many. This is sort of the way my mom's family makes it. My dad's family makes Toor Dal a little bit differently. Millions of ways, depending on where you're from. Oh, it looks so good. And we're just gonna add a little bit of sugar. I got these jars from IKEA. Do you remember IKEA? I remember IKEA. I used to go there and wander around. I always said when the apocalypse came, I would go to an IKEA. That's where I would hole up. That or a Costco, but I feel like everybody would go for a Costco, so I would go to the IKEA. I'm just gonna do like a teaspoon of sugar in there, just to give it a little bit of sweetness. Not too much. You can always add more. That is what I've learned with cooking. You can always add more, but you can rarely take it away. And just a little bit of salt. We're just gonna let it simmer. We'll do a little taste. See if we need anything more. More salt. You know, I always have trouble saying turmeric. I didn't call it that, obviously, growing up. For us, it's hardly. Excuse me, I sniffed saying that. Hang on, let's take that again. So, when I hear it now, I'm always like, how does it spell? I can spell it. So good. Let it simmer a little bit. Let some of the water cook off. Let's not look at my disgusting stove. Let some of the water cook off. But it's basically done now. And what we'll do, you can make rice. Ideally in a rice cooker. If you don't have a rice cooker, you can make rice on the stove. You can make rice in a microwave. I know that like hurts Asians' ears. I understand. Trust me, it hurts me a little bit to say it. You can make rice in a microwave. It's not that big of a deal. It won't taste the exact same, but it's not that big of a deal. It'll like come out a little bit mushy. I've done it in a pinch. But if you have a rice cooker, obviously use the rice cooker. And you can just spoon this over your rice. You can, if you make it a little bit thicker, you can use it and eat it with like naan or roti, or you know, you can eat it with whatever you want. The sky is the limit. And if you actually make it just a little bit thicker, you can even eat it as a stew. I probably wouldn't do that, but you can. So yeah, that is it. It's so easy. Look at how pretty it is now that it's like bubbling. It's so pretty. Even if we just left it without any of the tomatoes or anything, it would still be really, really delicious. But I like it like this. This is my favorite way of eating it. Beautiful, bubbly. It'll be nice and colorful, very healthy, very, very cheap. I will have that jar till the day I die, probably. Maybe even longer, who knows? That jar will outlive all of us. Thank you for joining me on this video. Thank you for joining me today for Quarantine Cuisine. We made dal. I hope you enjoyed it, and I'll see you soon.